A gaming smartphone might seem like a very exciting proposition for the enthusiast, but how can a manufacturer make the average smartphone buyer feel the same way? Well, that's all about to change with the new Asus ROG Phone 2. Now, it's packed with a ton of features, but the icing on the cake has definitely got to be that pricing. Now, compared to the first version which launched last year for nearly 70,000 rupees, the Asus ROG Phone 2 starts at just 37,999 rupees, which is not only a great price if you're a gaming enthusiast, but for anyone looking for a powerful smartphone. So, should you be considering the Asus ROG Phone 2 over something like the OnePlus 7T at the same price? And if you aren't really a gamer, does the ROG Phone 2 still make sense to buy? Let's find out. Now before we go ahead, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon so you're the first to know whenever we have a new video. The size and weight of the ROG Phone 2 have gone up, making it one of the heaviest phones we've held in a while. It's quite thick at 9.48mm and weighs a whopping 240 grams. Now the weight isn't a big issue when you're using it in landscape orientation with both hands, but normal one-handed usage gets fatiguing quite quickly. The 6.59-inch AMOLED display has a Full HD Plus resolution, but what's impressive is that it has a 120Hz refresh rate. You also get Corning Gorilla Glass 6 for protection against scratches and drops. The display has thick bezels on the top and bottom, but it doesn't make the phone look ugly. Now the 120Hz refresh rate makes scrolling through apps and even in gameplay pretty fun and fluid. 90Hz also offers a very good experience if you want to save a bit of battery, although this isn't really a big concern here, which we'll get to in a bit. The earpiece and the bottom speaker are forward-facing for a better stereo effect. The dual nano SIM tray is placed on the left, but there's no slot for expanding the inbuilt storage. Other than the gaming performance, the display and speakers are two other highlights of this phone. HDR videos look great, and in this, the brightness is automatically boosted when HDR content is detected and drops back to the level it was before when you close the video. Now the speakers get really loud and the sound quality is also pretty good. We also like the stereo separation across both channels, and there's a decent amount of bass and good sound staging. There's an in-display fingerprint scanner here and authentication works well, but we found that we had to rest our finger there a little longer than usual before this works. Face recognition is a lot quicker and even works at odd angles. The power and volume buttons are placed low on the right side of the phone and have good feedback. The left side has an additional USB Type-C port along with a custom port beside it for accessories. The Type-C port at the bottom supports USB 3.0 speed and also supports fast charging. The 3.5mm headphone socket is placed on the extreme right at the bottom, so wired headphones won't get in the way when you're gaming. Now the ROG Phone 2 also features a second version of Asus's Air Trigger system or shoulder buttons on the right side. Now Asus says that the algorithm has been tweaked so you can rest your fingers without actually activating the triggers, which actually prevents fatigue from keeping them hovering over the buttons. Just like the first ROG phone, Asus has put in a lot of work into the software this time around too. You get Android 9 Pie with the August security patch and a custom skin. Now for the ROG Phone 2, you can choose a more vanilla Android theme as well instead of the default ROG theme. The latter does look cool and you have a choice between the light and dark versions of it. There's a ton of customization options for this smartphone. Some examples are an audio wizard to boost the volume, an option to switch the display refresh rate, and the ability to choose which icons you want in the status bar. The glass back is a little slippery, but the bundle case makes it easier to hold this phone with one hand. The addition of a notification LED near the earpiece is also a nice touch. Now, as you'd expect, the ROG Phone 2 is also a beast of a performer. It has a Snapdragon 855 Plus SoC, UFS 3.0 storage, and the phone is available in two RAM and storage variants, one with 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage, and the other with 12GB of RAM and 512GB of storage. However, the phone does miss out on some flagship level features such as an IP rating for water resistance and wireless charging. Apps load quickly and multitasking is also handled very well. Of course, the main draw of this phone is gaming, and this is hands down one of the best devices, if not the best one, for that. We ran a mix of heavy titles such as PUBG Mobile and Asphalt 9 Legends, along with simpler ones including Rayman Adventures and Mario Kart, all of which ran flawlessly. Even with 8GB of RAM, we were able to switch between any of these games quite effortlessly. Now keep in mind that the back of the phone does get quite warm when gaming, especially a few spots near the side-mounted Type-C port which gets particularly hot. We recommend using the bundled case so it keeps the heat away from your fingers and it also offers better grip. Asus has also added a performance mode called X mode, but we didn't feel the need to use this too much other than a couple of instances in PUBG Mobile when the frame rate began to get mildly choppy. X mode prevents throttling of the CPU and also doesn't let the speed drop below 1.3 GHz. Now keep in mind that this will also drain the battery faster, so we'd suggest not using this unless you absolutely need to. Just like with the original ROG phone, we found the air triggers to be immensely helpful in games such as PUBG Mobile. The vibration effect when they are triggered is instantaneous, and you can now rest your fingers on them and simply apply slight pressure when you actually need to activate them. This helps reduce fatigue in your index fingers since you don't have to keep them hovering in midair. Now, through the Armoury Crate app, you can set a customized profile for each game by selecting the desired refresh rate, touch sensitivity, performance metric, and so on. You can also set the force level for the button taps of the air triggers, system lighting for different scenarios, etc. Game Genie is a very useful toolbar which can be accessed from within a game for mapping the air triggers to in-game controls, live streaming on YouTube and Twitch, and you can even have an overlay reading of the temperatures and frame rate in real time. Battery life is equally impressive, and not just because of the massive capacity. In our battery loop test, the 6000 mAh battery lasted for around 11 hours and 48 minutes with the screen set to 120Hz and about 14 hours and 13 minutes at 60Hz. Now these numbers might not look particularly impressive, especially when you compare it to other phones which have ran for more than 20 hours with smaller batteries, but looking at the real-world usage, the ROG Phone 2 really exceeded our expectations. Even with the screen running at 120Hz and a lot of camera, gaming and social usage, we still managed to easily go past one full day on a single charge. With lighter usage, we managed to go even 2 full days before needing to charge it. With the bundled 18-watt charger in this variant, we were able to charge the battery up to 52% in an hour, and it took about 2 hours to charge it completely. The ROG Phone 2 has a main 48-megapixel Sony IMX586 sensor with an f1.79 aperture and PDAF, but no optical stabilization. The second camera uses a wide-angle lens with a 13-megapixel sensor, and finally for selfies we also have a 24-megapixel camera. In daylight, the ROG Phone 2's primary camera was quite capable and managed good details and colors. HDR images look vivid and striking with good exposure and white balance. The wide-angle camera captured slightly weaker details, but HDR was handled well and landscapes look good with little to no battle distortion. Now close-ups look good too with sufficient details and good colors. The camera app does let you adjust the level of background blur in portrait shots, but edge detection wasn't always too accurate. Low-light landscape shots were a bit grainy, but using night mode helped here. Details were still a little weak, and we found the resulting images to be slightly over-sharpened. The selfie camera captured fairly detailed selfies during the day with good skin tones, but we noticed some minor artifacting in the background textures. Also, edges of our face could have been a little sharper. Portrait mode with the front camera is present, but the final output looks a little artificial. Finally, the quality of videos shot in daylight was also quite impressive. Electronic stabilization worked very well even at 4K resolution, and details and colors were represented well too. Selfie videos were also stabilized and the quality was equally good. The phone faltered a bit in low light as video was a little grainy, and the electronic stabilization caused some mild distortion when we moved about. The Asus ROG Phone 2 is a solid piece of hardware and is definitely the most polished and impressive gaming phone we've seen so far. It lacks some features such as waterproofing and wireless charging, but at 37,999 rupees, those things aren't really big deal breakers. The high-end version feels a little too expensive at nearly 60,000 rupees, even with the massive bump in storage and the bundled accessories. Now, one of the main competitors of the base variant of the ROG Phone 2 is the OnePlus 7T. It's a great all-rounder with a good set of cameras and a 90Hz display. So if you're not a big fan of the weight of the ROG Phone 2, then the OnePlus 7T is a very good alternative. However, if the weight doesn't bother you, then the Asus ROG Phone 2 is easily one of the best phones you can buy in this price range. Even if you aren't a gamer, it's simply a great phone for media consumption thanks to that vivid display and excellent stereo speakers. So thanks for watching our review, and for all things tech, log on to gadgets360.com.